Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'm bringing you today's video. Just had a few things I wanted to go over real fast. First, our usual shout out of appreciation to all of our patrons out there. We appreciate all those tips and support, and hope you guys are enjoying the videos that we put out for you guys exclusively every single week, including the How to Deal Craps instructional set that is ongoing. And if you're curious about it, go ahead and check the description of the video down below. And also, I wanted to go over, we've had a couple of questions about the this little neon light thing that we've been putting on some of our other videos. So if anybody's interested in one of these, just shoot us an email at sincitylivinglv@gmail.com. And so I did another test of our live stream, another attempt to do the live stream. So I now know that I have the right equipment, the right camera, the right programming, able to get all of that done. Unfortunately, what I did discover is that my computer was not strong enough, was not powerful enough to be able to encode and upload it as an actual live stream. So I'm going to continue tweaking with that, although it may turn out that I'm just going to have to wait until I can afford to buy a newer, more powerful computer for that. So that will be on the list. So it does look like live streaming may not be as upcoming as I was hoping. It's going to take us a little bit of time to generate that up. And otherwise, please make sure you email us with any questions, strategies, anything you would like us to video. We love shooting these videos for you guys. If not, I'm going to go straight into today's video. So for today's video, I want to respond to an email that was sent to us. Again, we absolutely love shooting these videos based on the emails you send to us. It's one of the more fun things that I do. So this email comes from Jeff, and it's just some miscellaneous questions that he wants to ask. Okay, so let's go through this one at a time. So let's see here. The first one's interesting. What are my thoughts on the craps with cards? I absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it. It's dull. It's unexciting. It has almost zero energy behind it. I've seen it. I used to live in another state and would go down to the casinos all the time. And I would see it, and it would be basically dead. Or there might be a few people playing, but even the frequent craps players would oftentimes be looking at this game with some confusion, because there's a couple different ways the craps with cards go. Some of them there's no dice whatsoever. They just pull out the cards, spread them out, and there you go, that's your number, and then they go from there, and it's just dull. Everyone's just standing there staring, and it's just boring. The other one is they roll dice, but the dice don't matter. They use the numbers off the cards. The dice are just there for aesthetics. There is a third version that's actually a variation on the second, where there's two sets of cards, and then the roll of the dice picks which set of cards they use. I'm guessing they do like an odd even kind of thing. But even then, it's dull. It's very, very dull, and there's a reason why so many states that have casinos that have cards, those casinos have been pushing and pushing and lobbying to try and get dice to be allowed. And dice are becoming more and more allowed in more and more states, because the craps with cards is, again, dull. Dull, and very, very few people play it, especially in comparison to how popular craps is. Next question. What are some interesting craps or dealer slang terms? You know, it's real hard as a dealer. It's real hard to say what would be some interesting ones, because to me they're just everyday parts of my lexicon. They're just normal things that I say. I don't know. I honestly don't know what people find interesting, just because for us it's just the things that we say. The things that we say it's just normal language to us, and we don't really even think about it. And a lot of times some of the non-standard slang terms become are very, very casino specific. I mean, there's a couple fairly amusing ones that I can think of that are just between the dealers, and ones that I would not want to put on this channel that players would have no idea what we were talking about. But it's amusing to us, and it's definitely pretty unique to us. And every casino will have their unique, I guess, inside jokes and stuff. But then you just got your common ones. You've got your midnight, your box cars for the 12, your aces, your snake eyes for the 2. Some things that some dealers absolutely hate, some dealers don't mind, is aces, ace, deuce being called a low. I can't stand that. I will call it aces, ace deuce. But a lot of times for slang, when it comes to bets in there, I'm not a big fan of slang because it can make things unclear and offer the possibility for players to take a shot. For instance, if somebody bets a $10 ET, well, yes, an ET should be an 11-12, and it's generally going to be understood as an 11-12. But T could also be a 2, could also be a 3, and somebody could potentially take a shot with that. Just like when somebody throws in $5 and says, give me an any. I absolutely hate that because they're trying to sound cool, but are you betting an any crap or an any 7? Because if you just look on the layout, there's 2 things that say any. And they're like, wow, it means any crap. Does it? Because there's other players that'll throw that in and mean any 7. Or when people throw in $3 and say, I want a 3-way. Okay, a 3-way what? 3-way crap, 3-way 7, 3-way 6, 3-way 8. There's plenty of things that are 3-ways that are actually booked as a 3-way. So it's real tough for me to mention some slang things because I just don't. To me, I just don't know. 11's being called a yo, of course. The any 7 also being called a red because some people think it's bad luck to say 7. One amusing one that I've heard is with the hard 10. I've heard people call it puppy paws. I can kind of see that when you look at the picture. I can sort of see that. That's an older school term, but definitely an option. He does mention that he has heard of a dealer bet the odds being called shoes. Absolutely. If someone bets let me just go and throw that on the floor. Someone bets $1 pass line bet, and then we get a point, and they put a couple bucks down behind that for the dealers, for the dealer bet. You very well may hear one of the dealers go, hey, dealer's got shoes. I don't know where that comes from. I really, really don't. But yes, this is generally referred to as the odds for a dealer bet are generally referred to as shoes. It's actually the reason why when a player says, hey, here's $1 for you guys, bet it wherever you want, we're going to say, put that right next to you. The reason that we say that is it's a little bit of, I guess, almost like a little bit of a psychology game. Because once there's a point set and the player goes to place their odds, they see that dealer bet. And a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times the player is going to go and add some odds for the dealer. I would say maybe 1 in 20 times. But if we were to take that dollar and put it somewhere else, maybe 1 in 1,000 times, is the player going to add that extra $2 to the bet or to somewhere else. Whereas maybe 1 in 20 times, they're going to add that $2 right there. So that's just something that the dealers will try and do because it will increase their ability, their options for making money. So he does mention that he almost never hears Little Joe, Fever, Big Joe anymore, and that's true. There certainly are people that will sit there throwing the dice, going Big Joe or Little Joe or Fever, Nina, but yes, those are kind of fading away. We do hear them every single day, but we don't hear them as much as we used to. They're definitely fading away. And my suspicion on why those are fading away, and again, this is just a guess, but my guess on why they are fading away is because the dealers don't say them as much. And why do the dealers not say them as much? You got to remember, for the players, you guys are coming once every 4, 5, 6 months, or even maybe once a month to play for a few hours. The dealers are coming 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and hearing the same thing over and 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 over again gets really old. So things like Little Joe, Big Joe, which weren't all that common to begin with, but especially things like Fever and Nina. After you hear the first couple times, especially new dealers, they're going to say those, they're going to add those to the stick calls. Maybe the 10th, the 20th time. But when you start hitting the 100th, the 1,000th, the 10,000th time of hearing it, it's no longer a slang term. It's no longer a nickname. It's just an internal roll of the eyes, like yeah kind of thing. It's just like the whole winner chicken dinner thing. That makes dealers vomit inside their brains. So it's my suspicion of why those things are going away. It's just because the dealers are just so tired of hearing the same things over and over and over again that they're not saying them anymore. So because the dealers aren't saying them anymore, it's just kind of fading away. Biggest win I've ever witnessed. Now, I don't want to go into dollar amounts because it's really going to depend on the location where you're at, as far as table minimums, table maximums, and volume of amount of play. Obviously someone that works at a tier 4 casino is going to see higher wins on a daily basis than someone who works at a tier 1 casino might see as the highest win they see in a year. Just because, if someone that's betting starting out with, say, 64 across versus someone that's starting out with 64,000 across, that person starting out with 64,000 across, their average roll is going to be higher than the biggest win that's ever going to happen in the lifetime for someone that's winning starting with 64 across. So I'm going to go look at it more as a percentage thing. And as a percentage thing, the biggest win that I have ever seen is 600 times the initial buy-in. 600 times not the initial buy-in, 600 times the investment into the roll. So basically think of it this way, and again, it doesn't matter how much the dollar amount is. Think of it this way. Biggest win I've ever seen percentage-wise is the equivalent of someone buying in or someone, say, having $100,000 worth of bets on the table and winning $60 million. Or someone that had, the equivalent of someone that has $1,000 worth of bets on the table and winning $600,000. The biggest win I've seen is 600 times, a little bit over 600 times the amount of money that they had invested into the shooter. That player is a power presser, by the way. Not quite a full-blown power presser like I am, or I can. A lot of times I do the mid press, but not quite a full-blown power press like I've shown you guys. There were some spots in there where he same betted or collected part of it, did a mid press kind of thing. But for the most part, that player is a power presser. How were tips split? So we've gone over this one a few times. Most places the tips are split amongst all the dealers for the entire day. There may still, I don't know of any, but there may still be a few places where it's split per shift. But for the most part, if the split is for all the dealers for the entire day. There are a rare few places that are what we call keep your own, where what you make is what you keep every tip that you make. It's not split amongst all the dealers. Keep your own places oftentimes have a lot of difficulty getting dice dealers, because dice dealers know that most of the money is made in blackjack, not in craps. So definitely favors dice dealers for the most part to play to deal at a place with a split. Do suits get a cut? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The suits, there was a casino once that tried to do that, and they ended up facing a multi-year lawsuit and ended up losing that lawsuit. And the reason they tried to do that is because the dealers made significantly more than the suits. I mean, think about it. The couple of the super high-end places where the dealers are making $85,000, $90,000, $95,000 a year, the suits are not making that amount of money. They might be making close in some cases. They might be making 70 to 80,000, somewhere in there. But the dealers are definitely making more. And they tried to do that. They tried to do that split because they were having difficulties getting people to agree to promote up to suit. Why would you want to make less money for more responsibility and more pressure? But no, the suits do not get a cut. Hardest skill for a dealer to learn. That's really going to depend upon the dealer. I know some people that the hardest skill for them to learn is to be able to figure out what a $12 six pays, and I am not joking on this. The basic fourth grade math is very, very difficult for some craps students and some craps dealers. The skill that I see as one that I won't say the most dealers, but the one that I see most often is something that was clearly not practiced is drop cutting. Drop cutting is something that, I mean, amongst experienced dealers that have been dealing for years, the most basic skill that I see as lacking at times would be drop cutting. I'd say about 21 in 30 experienced dealers that I see never really taught themselves how to drop cut, never learned how to drop cut. They get mocked pretty unmercifully for that, but yeah, drop cutting would probably be the most basic, or the hardest skill that I see dealers not learn. Before the pandemic, craps increasing, decreasing, or staying the same in popularity? Before the pandemic, about staying the same. After the pandemic, it actually appears to have slightly increased in popularity and continuing. So I attribute that to a couple of different things, and I would say one reason might be how many states are slowly adding dice to it. So people from out of state are starting to learn how to play craps. Also, all the various stimulus checks and things along those lines, actually, and then the enhanced unemployment and stuff like that, actually gave a lot of people a little bit extra money, so they started gambling a little bit more. Are younger people playing craps, or is the demographic moving toward an older crowd? Yes and no. I've noticed that with craps, especially within the age range, it's a little bit less with age range and more along the lines of socioeconomic factors. What I tend to see is an interesting mix. Generally, when I see a lot of younger people coming in playing craps, and when I say younger, I mean in the age range between 21 to 25. A lot of times it's people that played quote unquote street dice, which tends to fall into certain socioeconomic factors and less into age range. Generally depends. Well, I would almost say almost on neighborhood. But with craps increasing in popularity, I'm seeing across the board a lot more people that are interested in it. And the last question, as we've mentioned, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 casinos, he mentions that we very rarely say names of places. And kind of a yes and no. We will absolutely never mention where we work. We keep the channel and our employment separate. But also, it's not an official type of rating that's used by anybody except for some dealer schools. So it's more of an unofficial rating system. And basically, Tier 1 casinos are casinos that take break-in dealers, that have just finished school and have absolutely zero experience and are just continuing to learn the game, because the school only teaches you the absolute most basic stuff. Tier 2 casinos are the next step. They typically take dealers that have been dealing for between 3 to 6 months. And that is usually the stopping point for a lot of dealers. That's where they tend to get comfortable, and they've gotten cocky, they think they know what they're doing, and they stop progressing, stop learning, get comfortable where they're at, and stay there for their careers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with staying in a Tier 2 casino. Tier 1 casinos, most of the break-in casinos, are where the dealers are making between $20 to $50 a day in tips. Tier 2 casinos have a slightly higher skill set, and very slightly higher, very small amount of experience additional, at least what they'll take on the bottom end. And now you're looking at between $60 to $80, $60 to $90 a day in tips. And then after that, you get into the Tier 3 casinos. And Tier 3, Tier 4 casinos, they're pretty similar. Tier 3 casinos will take some dealers that have 1 to 2 years of experience, but typically you're going to look for more than 2 years of experience. And now you're looking at the places that make well over $100 a day to multi-hundreds a day in tips. And then your Tier 4 casinos are, in theory, taking dealers that have 5 or more years of experience, but they'll take some with less experience. And now they're making much more. And that's really the only difference between the Tier 3 and Tier 4 casinos. Oftentimes is people look at the Tier 4 casinos as there's maybe 4 in town. And it's mostly just those absolute premier, top of the line, making the absolute most amount of money. When you look at it objectively, there's probably only 3 to 5 places that would really fall into that category. But there's probably a dozen casinos where the dealers will think that they're in a Tier 4 spot. But that's really the difference right there. Tier 4 would definitely be the highest and not the Tier 1. And yeah, so I hope these answer your questions, Jeff. Thank you very much for sending this email to us. We appreciate it. I hope everyone else finds this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or just plain fun. Thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you next time. Bye now. Okay guys, so as I promised at the end of the videos, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the live stream and how it's going to work. So the first thing is, if you're interested in being one of the players for our craps tournaments, which is we're going to have every single week, please email us at sincitylivinglv@gmail.com. I need the email addresses and want to know who is interested so that we can get it set up and we can select it. I'm going to have the first round is going to be 16 players. There'll be 4 players per week. The 5th week is going to be the 4 champions from the previous weeks to get an ultimate champion. Haven't decided yet what the prize will be. Maybe I'll see if I can pick up another one of these lights. But we'll have some sort of prize for our champion. So please, if you're interested, email us. I want to pick the first 8 players, the first 2 weeks worth of players, so that we'll have the first 4 ready for the first week, and the other 4 will be kind of backup, just in case somebody has connection issues or something comes up and they're not able to play that week. Then I've got the other players on standby, so I can just bump one of them up or maybe shift the first person down or something along those lines. The main tournament is going to be Thursdays at 6 o'clock my time, Las Vegas time, 6 p.m. Las Vegas time. And it's the way it's going to work is it's going to be a time thing. I'm going to do the live stream for an hour. I'm going to do the game for an hour, rather. And it might work out to about 30 rolls, might work out to about 40 rolls. I'm not too sure. We'll see how it goes. But it's going to be time. It's going to be an hour. Instead of the craps tournaments that they do down on the strip where it's 30 rolls, we're going to do an hour. So I want to make sure I have a finite time limit for this to start with, and then we will go from there. I'm going to find a way, either a Discord or a Zoom or a private chat room, some way for the players to be logged into something where I can communicate with them on my second computer so that they can tell me what their bets are, what they want to bet, what they want to press when something hits, without me having to scroll through the full chat of the live stream itself. I'm not going to be able to keep an eye on that, and if we have enough people watching and chatting, it could be difficult to keep an eye. So I have to figure that part out. Another reason I need the emails, so I can communicate back and forth with the potential players. So if you're interested, again, please email me. Eventually, just pretty much everybody's going to have an opportunity to be in on these things, because we're going to do multiple ones. I'm also looking at probably doing a second craps tournament, maybe late Wednesday nights, possibly, I'm not sure, where I'm going to do it a little bit different. The second one is going to be, instead of 1 hour and then whoever's got the most chips is the winner, because those craps tournaments tend to have really weird strategies. They're not normal strategies that you'd see in normal play, because you're competing against other players and you just want to make sure you have more chips than them by the end. What I'm going to do with the second tournament is, instead of a weekly winner, we're going to play for an hour, and then I'll keep track of how much money people still have on there, or how many chips they still have. And then the next week, same players are going to keep going. Basically, this game will go until the bankrolls end, until we have one person with money left, or chips left. Again, there's no money involved in this. So once we have one final winner, so people will drop out as their play money bankrolls expire, as they run out of chips. So that one, I'm guessing we'll see some more normal strategies, the kind of things people actually play when they're actually playing craps. And then eventually we're going to add baccarat, pai gow, 3-card poker, blackjack, of course, to these tournaments. Whatever we can, to these live streams and live stream tournaments, whatever we can, when we can, as best we can. We're going to have to figure it out as we go. We have a lot of time constraints between me working full-time plus a child. But we're going to do the best we can. We're very, very excited to have this going. And we also will try and pick a day or time where I can do a patron-exclusive tournament, or 2. We'll see. We'll see how many of our patrons are interested, and see if we can't get that going as well, where it's only on the patron site. So definitely stay tuned, guys. Please, if you're interested in playing in one of the tournaments or partaking in our live streams, aside from just the chat, obviously it's a live stream, please watch, chat with us, let us know how it's going or what you think, and otherwise, please, again, email us, sincitylivinglv@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you guys are enjoying the videos, any suggestions, please hit us up. Thank you guys very, very much. We appreciate every single one of you guys, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.